Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Barbara Rogers. I am president of LRCA, and I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. This is election season, and we're all excited. And we're hoping that all of you on this meeting will actually consider joining LRCA. There are a lot of positions available, and we hope you will consider um, joining LRCA. Great organization, great work that we do for the community. So just think about it. Okay, so we're going to get started. Um, as some of you may know, Reverend Paul is in Africa, and he would normally do our invocation. So we're going to do what we did last month, and that is we are going to have a moment of silence, and let us reflect on things in our community, the good work that we're doing, the good work that our political leaders are doing, but also let's keep in mind some of the sadness that we see around the world in the United States as it relates to gun violence at our schools. So we're going to have a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we are going to move on to our officers report. Um,
Would you like to
we'll
go?
start. Oh, I'm sorry. I am so in a rush to get to these nominations. I'm sorry. I'm going to turn it over to Angie now, who will go over our housekeeping rules. Angie.
Well, welcome everyone. We're just going to quickly go over the housekeeping rules for the meeting or session this evening. Most of you are aware of the notes and how things operate around here, but want to quickly go over. This is a webinar format. If you have a speaking role during this session, we ask that you raise your hands. Once you raise your hands, that will allow us to find you in the attendee list and bring you and move you up to a panelist position so that you can actually give your presentation. And additionally, we ask that you raise your hands if you have any questions or any comments, and we will let you know when we are entertaining any comments during the meeting. We ask that you keep your meetings brief just so that we can stay per the time of the meeting, which typically ends at 8:45 p.m. We ask that you limit your questions and your responses to 30 seconds. Additional questions should be placed in the chat, and we will do our best to respond to them accordingly. We ask that there be no shouting or inappropriate language, and we ask that you refrain from being rude and disrespectful. And we also ask, and which shouldn't be a issue here, given it's a webinar format, that you just like remain mute, or if you are unmuted at any time, that you just be respectful of others and you follow the order in which we ask you to present in.
Okay. Thank you so much, Angie. I did want to just make an announcement, and we'll talk about this more when we get to the election part. Um, but I did want to mention, I just heard that DC is the subject of a telephone scam as it relates to taxes. So I just want people on the call, spread the word, especially to our seniors, to not give out information over the phone. The IRS will not call you. So just be aware of this, and again, spread information to, you know, neighbors and especially our seniors. So just wanted to mention that. We're going to go on to the officers report. Um, do we have Audrey, our treasurer, on?
Yes, she is. Let me bring her.
Can you elevate? Okay. And I don't know if Angie mentioned that we went to the webinar format of Zoom, which would deter people, attendees from just unmuting themselves and to start to talk. So I think this is working out fine. The only thing is when someone is speaking, it takes a minute that Angie has to elevate them and give them the right to speak. So just wanted to, if it takes a minute, be patient. That is the new format. Okay, Audrey, are you ready to give our treasurer's report?
Yes, I'm ready. Good evening, everyone. I'm here to present the LRCA monthly treasurer's report, April 3rd, 2023. The beginning balance was $9,056.62. The deposits made were $852.51. Those were membership dues. And there was a deposit of $1,509 for the LRCA 75th anniversary donation. The total deposit amount was $2,361.51. There were 4 expenses this past month. We had expense of $518.05 for quality printers for our newsletters. There was a $90 expense for our articles of incorporation through the DC government. There was also another $90 expense for our electronic voting software. And then we had an expense of $1,537.50 for our catering fee for the LRCA 75th anniversary. The total expense amount was $1,627.50. Our ending balance is $9,790.63. Thank you.
Okay, Angie, can I ask you to elevate the executive board? And we're going to do the minutes, so we'll have to somehow unmute everybody to take a vote on approving the minutes. So Angie, I'll give you a minute to do that. You can let me know when you're ready.
How are you?
Okay,
I'm making everyone co-host, so you can go ahead and.
okay, so we're going to approve the minutes. So everyone on the call will have to be unmuted. So at this time, we're going to move on to approve the minutes.
To approve the minutes, what you'll want to do is raise your hands if you're on the video call. If you're on the phone, you can raise your hand by clicking *9.
Okay. All right. So as you know, the minutes are actually printed. The March meeting minutes were printed in the April 2023 newsletter. It's also online. It has been emailed to people as well. So can I get a motion to accept the minutes as they, Heather, is your hand up? Oh, okay. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes as the March 2023 minutes as they are printed in the April 2023 newsletter?
If you're on the phone, hit *9 to raise your hand to approve. All others can click
I
on.
need a motion first, so if we can unmute.
I make a motion.
I second it.
Thank you, Mimi. Thank you, Mr. Ecker. So it has been moved and second that we accept the March 2023 minutes as they are printed in the April 2023 newsletter. All in favor, raise your hand. Do we have any nays? Put your hands down. Any nays? Any abstentions?
It looks like we have two are in disagreement on the floor.
Okay, who are the disagreements?
I see GDW, and then I see Miss Lori LaRue.
Okay. Miss LaRue, did you have a correction?
Oh, that's an error if I did hit that.
That's okay. How are you?
Sorry about that. I'm fine.
That's okay. And the other person?
That person took their hand down, so it looks like we're okay.
Okay, we're good. All right. So we will continue to move forward. If all of the current executive board members could please turn on your cameras. I would like to take this time to introduce the current executive board.
Tell me that again, Bishop.
Huh?
Well, I can't do it.
What?
You were just on there, LaRoya.
Yeah, but I did have a, okay, I'm at the.
There you go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Reverend Mays, we see you.
I've been
Miss
disabled.
Barbara Carter, did you want to turn on your camera?
I've been disabled.
Who said that? Danielle, did you want to turn on your camera? I just want everybody to see your beautiful faces.
I'm trying to turn my camera on. I have a new computer and phone, so.
Angie, are you able to turn on her camera?
Your video is on, ma'am.
Mm.
You probably
So maybe now hit the video button, Danielle.
It is
Okay.
on. You probably have a camera filter on to block your view.
Daniel, slide your camera. There's usually a little button over your camera on top of your laptop. Slide it over.
We saw Danielle's lovely face at the last meeting when she gave us that awesome presentation on Medicaid. Okay. Let's give Danielle another 30 seconds to see if she can get her camera on. But I would like for the executive board members, if you could just say your name and what your current position is. Just introduce yourself to everyone. Let's start with Angie. I'm just looking at how you appear on my screen. So
Hi.
Angie,
My name is Angeline Booth. I am currently the second VP as well as the chair of the communication and marketing, our communication and market, our membership committees.
thank you. Tish,
Hello. My name is Tisha Cockrell. I serve as the financial secretary and chair of the bylaws committee.
Audrey,
Hi, my name is Audrey Walker, and I'm the treasurer for the LRCA.
Miss Barbara Carter. She's trying to unmute.
Oh, my goodness. Barbara Carter. I'm the historian and chair of the 75th Anniversary Planning Committee.
Yes, so we'll hear from Miss Barbara later on. Mr. Edgar,
Edgar Shepherd, president trustee, and also the co-chair of the senior committee.
thank you. LaRoya,
Hi, I'm LaRoya Huff. I'm the first vice president and chair of public safety. Yes, I'm mute.
Reverend Mays. It looks like you're unmuted.
Recording in progress.
We can't hear you. Hit unmute again.
Good evening. I am Reverend Johnny Mays. I am the chairperson for the senior committee.
Thank you. Let's see. Heather, you still can't unmute?
I can
There
unmute
you
now.
go.
Hi, I'm Heather Rogers. I am a trustee. I am the chair of the nominating committee.
Okay. And Mimi.
Hello, Mimi Richardson, trustee.
Thank you.
If I
Now
could
let
also
me go
say-
back to Danielle. I don't think Danielle could. Can you unmute yourself to talk, Danielle?
I can. Good afternoon,
There
everyone.
you go.
Everyone. I've had a little one who had a little episode, but good evening, everyone. Sorry, I had the phone on too, so it's a terrible echo. But just wanted to say good evening. I am the chair of the health committee, and thank you, Barbara, for the acknowledgement of the presentation from last week, last meeting. And so I think that was it, right? I'm sorry, I was in transit.
And you're a trustee.
Of course, so I am a trustee and chair of the health committee.
Yeah. And something else Danielle and I talked about, she's going to do a little one pager because believe it or not, this whole Medicaid thing is coming up in every council office. You're getting a lot of calls from people. So she's going to present a one pager and we're going to take it to the rec center, the Lamond, our rec center, and to the library, so that people can pick it up and get that information. Okay, so I didn't miss anybody, did I?
You miss, well, Mac is out.
Yeah, Miss Mac is under the weather, and so we're gonna wish her a speedy recovery.
And
But
David.
just to the current exec board, I just want to say thank you so much for serving with me for these past 2 years. You all are amazing. You have done a great job. And for those of you all who know, I always do something extra when I am the president of an exec board. So I will have something special for you all at the June meeting. But I just wanted to just personally say thank you all for all the hard work. We don't get paid to do what we do, but you all show up and you do the work. Anything that I ask of you, you all have come through and done such an amazing job. So I just wanted to publicly say thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate all of you. I know a handful of you all will continue to the next administration. And again, I'm always here to support you all in any way, to support LRCA in any way that I can. So just wanted to say that. So she is actually going to, so you can, yeah, mute people so people don't speak out of turn. So we got a last minute cancellation for the DC Office of Attorney General, but that may be, all things happen for a reason. We have a full agenda today as it relates to the nominations. We're going to have a presentation by our nomination committee that will tell you how the voting this year will take place. We will also have an update from Tisha Cockrell on the bylaws. Angie is going to also update us on how to pay your dues, which are due today. If we were meeting in person, you would have to pay your dues by the close of the meeting. However, the nominating committee decided that online nominations can be done until 11:59. And Heather will talk a little bit more about that a little later on. So why don't we start with the nominating committee so that people can get a clear understanding of how you will be able to vote this year. I will just mention that the last election was in the middle of COVID. And the nomination committee at that election went over and beyond. They were taking people ballots, they were picking up ballots, and it was literally an all-day process for them. So I want to thank them. Again, I've thanked them before, but we've streamlined the process. And hopefully will make it easier for people to be able to vote this year. So now I am going to turn it over to, oh, no. Before we do that, we have to get to our ANCs, and we will have Council Member Zachary Parker on our meeting today. So I'm very excited for you all to hear from him. I think he's doing some great work. So he will be on. He had another meeting, but he will be on, I think, after 7:30. So whenever Angie and Tish, if you see him when he comes on, please let me know so that we can get him in. Is Jim
is actually on is on the call right now.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Mr. McKnight from Council Member Zachary Parker's office is on the line right now.
Oh, Carlos is on. Okay. So Carlos, did you want to provide an update, and then Council Member Zachary Parker, when he's on, can say hello to everyone? And is Jim Lewis on from Council Member Janice's office?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Carlos, we can hear you.
Awesome. Sorry, I was getting converted to a panelist. Let me turn my camera on. So yeah, so the council member, he will be joining in a few minutes. He's wrapping up his virtual call with the Stronghold Civic Association. So, I mean, he's everywhere. So he'll be here in a couple minutes. But I would love to share a couple updates, and he'll probably reiterate a couple of them when he joins. But I wanted to just share with you all a few things that are of major note and some things that are also exciting to the Lamond-Riggs neighborhood and the community. However, I'll start here. So again, my name is Carlos McKnight. I am a neighbor. I live in the Lamond-Riggs community. I live in the 5300 block of Chilling Place. So I'm excited. This has been my home for over 20-ish years. So I'm excited again to be here and to just share, this space with my fellow neighbors. Just to share with you all, over the past couple of weeks there has been a series of violence in our communities, particularly gun violence. And so the council member has worked with his staff to put together a public safety plan that I would love to share with you all. And folks can reach out to me and I can share my contact to share with you the full detailed plan that we have. This was first born out of our first community meeting that we had in the Brentwood neighborhood after the tragic shooting on Saratoga Avenue, and also following that with some of the incidents that occurred in our ward in the past couple of weeks. So this is the council member's response for public safety in Ward 5 to make sure that we can build a safe and healthy community for all residents. So I can definitely share that with anyone who is interested. Also on top of that, just a couple of weeks ago, the mayor had introduced her budget to the council. And this was something exciting because in the budget were a few wins for Ward 5 that we have requested in the council members' request letter to the mayor. A few notable points that I will share, and I'll save the best for last. And Barbara, you know which one I'm talking about. But the few of the wins that we have is that there was a long fight for redevelopment of the Carmel School in Ivy City. The mayor has committed to put 15 million more additional funding to the Carmel School and its construction. So that is one amazing achievement that we were able to achieve, was increasing additional funding for the Carmel School to redevelop it within the Ivy City neighborhood. There's also been a $26.6 million allocation for the New York Avenue Streetscape pedestrian trail, which is also something exciting. Another thing that I would like to share with you all that I have saved for last is that in the budget letter, we requested that the mayor provide funding for 2 new parks. The first being on 19th and L in the Carver Langston neighborhood, and also the other one being on the corner of Riggs Road in South Dakota. And so what we saw at the mayor's presentation is that she has allocated in her proposed budget $800,000 for the creation of these 2 new parks. I know there has been questions in the community about what the specific funding will be for the one on Riggs in South Dakota. We're still waiting for further in-depth detail, and we're also still reviewing the budget. And so we will have more specific information on projects around the ward if anyone is interested, hopefully in the next couple of days or in the next couple of weeks. But we wanted to share that with you all because this has been a long fight. We just wanted to recognize the hard work of the Lamond-Riggs Citizens Association, the continued support with the 2-time resolution of support by the 5A ANC. And so this has been a long time coming. And so this is something that we're very excited for, and we know that you all are excited for. And so on our end, we wanted to thank you all for the activism and advocacy to provide not only just a beautiful park for our community, but also to expand the district's green space and also the green space within our ward. So I'll just leave it there for right now. And if anyone has any questions until the council member arrives, I'd be happy to answer and share any other information. And I can also share my contact information for anyone who wants to reach out in terms of constituent services.
Okay, do we have any questions for Carlos? I just want to say, Carlos, thank you so much. You have, again, you're Riggs Park resident, but you have just come in and worked so hard for our community. And I just personally want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to work with you. We're kind of neighbors, but just want to say thank you for your hard work.
We actually have a couple of questions. We have a hand up in the online session from Mr. Foxworth. And then also want to let people who are on the phone know that if you have a question, to raise your hand, hit *9, and we will allow you to ask your question. I'll go first with one of the attendees who's asking, what is the timeline for the Riggs and South Dakota Park?
So as of right now, from what we know is that when we received the news during the week of the mayor's reveal of her budget, proposed budget, that it is in the works of the transfer of that land. The land is owned by the district, and so we were given confirmation that as of right now, that transfer process from the district to the Department of Parks and Recreation is in the process. And so we will have further information on that timeline as the budget comes out, and also if folks wanted to have share other questions that we can share with DPR or with other representatives of the mayor, just to get a more cohesive understanding of the timeline, we can do that as well.
And I'm going to
And wait a minute, and to also add to that, the LRCA Development Task Force, who have been leading the charge in getting all this done, reaching out to the council members for support. They will also stay engaged and work with DPR and EYA, because remember, the rendering was done by EYA. LRCA Development Task Force will actually continue to provide updates as they work with council member Zachary Parker's office, as well as DPR. So again, it's probably a year or two out, but yeah. So it won't happen this year, that's for sure. That's for sure. So just stay tuned for updates.
And we have a
Next
question.
question for Carlos.
We have a question from Mr. Foxworth, and I'm going to allow him to speak.
Hey, Carlos, welcome to the meeting. Just that 2 quick notes. Thanks very much for you guys inserting, asking the mayors to insert the funds for the park. Would you do us a favor? There's a lot of concerns about public safety and traffic mitigation measures around that intersection. You probably know that intersection has a very low safety rating. So can you guys make sure that for the seniors who want to use that park, that the traffic mitigation is up to par, as well as something that would help our kids and stuff? We don't want to react once someone has been hit. That's the first thing. And the second thing that I want to add is that I appreciate the public safety plan for Ward 5. That includes parts of Lamond-Riggs. About several or 10 of us actually submitted something similar to Councilmember Lewis George for the Ward 4 part of Lamond-Riggs. And so we're hoping to meet with her soon about that. We think that the community has an opportunity to kind of say what makes sense from public safety from our perspective. So thank you guys for doing it in 5. We hope to meet with the councilwoman soon to figure out what can happen in Ward 4. And Barbara, the council member said that you were going to be scheduled a meeting with us. Can you give us an update on when that meeting might be?
I will take a look at my calendar and I will let you know when I'm available, Rodney.
Thank you.
All right, next question for Carlos.
It doesn't look like we have any more questions. *9 if you're on the phone. I think we're ready for our next speaker.
Okay, well, Carlos, we're going to look out for Council Member Zachary Parker. As soon as he comes on, we will definitely allow him to introduce himself and say whatever he wants to say to us, okay? All right, thank you. And can you put your information in the chat, your contact information for people who may need it? I did get a text from Commissioner Allison Brooks that she will not make the meeting tonight. But I do want to update you all on an email that we received from DDOT as it relates to the Riggs Road, South Dakota intersection. I think we've all been complaining about the traffic there before Chick-fil-A even got there. We were concerned when the Walmart came. We were concerned when the storage unit came. And it's still a concern for people that cross that street. I don't think we've had any incidents of a lot of accidents or people being hit. I saw Reverend Mays crossing the street the other day coming from the library. But what DDOT is going to do by over the summer is we have been asking for when people exit the Walmart parking lot, that they're not allowed to make a left going onto 3rd Street. We all have seen people that come up 3rd Street and make the U-turn to get in the Chick-fil-A line, which is dangerous in itself. So what they're gonna do, they're gonna put the, what do they call, the poles that you see all over the city now. They're gonna put those from the median all the way up to where 2nd Street comes out, going around that curve. They're gonna do that to prevent people from making a U-turn, but it will also, I think, make better flow for people, you know, turning onto 3rd or coming from South Dakota onto 3rd. And then we also talked to them about the spaces right before the Walmart exit, when you exit the parking lot. If cars are parked too close to that exit, you can't see around. So we asked them to remove some of the at least a couple of parking spaces that would allow someone exiting the Walmart parking lot to be able to see the oncoming traffic onto 3rd. It's been a long time coming for us to get that. We asked for that before the Chick-fil-A opened. So we're glad to see that DDOT is actually moving on that. We had a meeting with the mayor and DDOT, Allison and Commissioner Brooks and Commissioner Huff. We were on this meeting. And so we're glad to see that DDOT is moving on this. So that should improve at least right there in that area where all the congestion is right there. So just wanted to provide you all with an update. We did, like I said, just heard that from DDOT. I think it was last week or so.
There was a question in the chat in regards to that subject.
Okay.
The question is, when will the lines for New Hampshire Avenue Northeast and the turn lane to 3rd Street be painted?
The lines for New Hampshire Avenue. Well, I know they have an arrow. I went that way today. And are you talking about they painted yellow lines from New Hampshire if you're coming up 3rd Street. They actually have a big white arrow pointing, like if you're coming off of New Hampshire, the arrow is telling you to go up to 3rd. They also, if you're going down to 3rd, there's a big white arrow for you to turn on to New Hampshire Avenue. So Mimi, if you're talking about something in addition to that, you can let me know.
It's by the Shell gas station. There aren't yellow lines to designate lanes for traffic.
Okay. I'll take a look at that. I wasn't aware of that. I know they took right by that Shell gas station. That right lane used to be a right turn onto Eastern, which really didn't make sense. So I know that they took that away now that all 3 lanes will go straight out to New Hampshire. But Mimi, if you want to send me an email and I can I drive that way to take my grands to school in the morning. So I'll take a look at that in the morning, and you can send me an email to remind me as well. Anything else? All righty. So now we're going to move on to our ANCs. As I said, Allison, Commissioner Brooks will not be on, but that was one of the things that I just shared with you all about DDOT. She was going to share that as well. So do we have Commissioner LaRoya Huff on? You still on, LaRoya?
She is being promoted back to the panelist. One moment, please.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, awesome. Because I'm driving. I just pulled over. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Barbara, for leading us in such a magnificent 2-year term. I know we're not over yet, but you have been a great leader, and I thank you for that. So as it relates to 4B10, I'm aware of some of the DDOT issues. I know Rabiha reported out that there were some lines put back after we did a walk after our meeting. Our next meeting will be April 15th from 10 to 12. It'll be in Riggs. It'll be a DDOT meeting to talk about the issues of concern. I think I mentioned it to you also, Barbara, from the LRCA and from the council side, wherein signs are popping up with 2-hour parking. It was thought that they would be removed, led to be a mistake. We've got at 5th and Nicholson Northeast, we have the pedestrian crossing pieces that came from out of nowhere, and parking spaces were removed, but nothing yet toward the school, where there's has been an ongoing concern for DDOT to do better with removing a tree at the corner, and some more visibility for traffic flow on Riggs Road. There's issues of concern that'll be talked about at that meeting about Sligo, and I want to say that's Peabody, Chillum in that corridor on the way to Sulla School. Last month's meeting was with the Office on Buildings, and again, I'd like your support from the council side, or the council member side, since she chairs the committee, to talk about that building that's been up at formerly the Eastern Old Folks Home or something. We used to call it the Old Folks Home, but the Eastern Star Home. It's been vacant since, all the new development is all around it. And there's a concern, everything is new around it, except the building that started, like the original building print. So
Okay.
that's a concern that we'll need help with, as well as the lumber yard, and some thoughts and ideas from community of what we could ask to be there. They want to maintain or to lease out that property to have some sort of development there across from Sulla School. We also are planning, because of some public safety concerns in the corridor of Eastern in Kansas and Eastern in New Hampshire, that are, I think they were like a week apart. A home got struck in Tacoma, and so there was the light camera up there. There was some communication with Tacoma and the district, and there are some houses in that corridor that we're looking to engage with. The other thing that's kind of related in terms of my role is in public safety and as the ANC for 4B10, in that there was a Chromebook distribution for the mayor's office on returning citizens. 64 Chromebooks were issued. And so that was good that it came up this way, because the focus primarily from that office is 6, 7, and 5, 7, and 8. So we're looking for Ward 4 to get our residents that we identify that need some support, to get engaged with some positive mobility. We've also done the entrepreneurship track. First one was done at Culture Coffee. Again, it was brought to Ward 4. It was really well attended and well received. And so again, gaining the momentum to show entrepreneurs returning citizens in an entrepreneurship role, trying to change the track in the process for both our young and old. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Commissioner Huff?
Star 9 if you're on the phone to raise your hand, and we will allow you to ask your questions. Otherwise, everyone else can hit the question or raise hand function on your screen to ask a question.
There's questions in the chat.
Okay.
When is the DDOT meeting?
So April 15th at Riggs LaSalle Recreation Center, 10 to 12. As you know, I'm between two rec centers. So I've had the first two at Lamont. The next one will be at Riggs LaSalle Recreation Center. Also, residents are also interested in seeing, like you see on Eastern Avenue in Ward 5, the lighted signs for stopping. And so we want to look at what it takes for us to get some of those in some of our heavily traveled areas. Talk about if we need increased lighting. In 4B09, when I was the ANC, I was able to get increased lighting, but that's also another thing we'll talk about, and that's DDOT. And as it relates to public safety, I just want to throw out there, I want to coordinate a peace walk, especially since we're having the issues up in that corridor, and to offer some services and some support. I'm just trying to figure out, do I do it at the gas station? Do I do it in the midway point of Eastern New Hampshire, or do I go over the hill? So I'll be looking for suggestions and your support and a date to be announced.
Two more
Okay,
questions.
LaGroya, it's one more thing in the chat, and that is, can you add the 500 block of Riggs Road to your list? The single white line needs to be replaced.
Got it. Okay.
And Reverend Mays had a question about the 2-hour parking on Oglethorpe Street.
Yeah, LaRoya just mentioned that DDOT is working to get those signs removed. They did not admit that it was a mistake, as it was on another street. Instead of putting them in Northwest, they put them in Northeast. So when Reverend Mays and Commissioner Huff reached out, we sent it to DDOT, and I said, can you provide me with a list of the signatures for the residents that signed this so-called petition? Well, they wrote back and said that, oh no, we're gonna remove them. So I did email Cornelius today about an update as to when they will be removed. So we're working on it. We're hoping to get them removed as soon as possible. Well, thank you, LaRoya. We have to move the agenda.
Yeah,
Yes,
one
ma'am.
question in the chat before we can move on to Councilmember Parker, who's waiting to come on board. LaRoya, can you speak on the 500 block of Riggs Road, or can you add the 500 block?
I just read that,
We
Angie.
addressed it.
I'm sorry.
Yep, that's okay. I just read that. But anyway, thank you, Commissioner Huff. We are going
Thank
to
you
move.
for your support.
All right. We are going to move on now. We've been joined by Council Member Zachary Parker, our new Ward 5 council member. We are so happy and excited that he can join us, and he's invited to every meeting, of course. But I just want to say Carlos has been doing an amazing job. So just want to let you know that. So welcome, Councilmember Parker.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. And good evening, Lamond-Riggs Civic Association. It is my understanding that Carlos may have already shared, so I'm going to share some high-level information and then open it up for Q&A so as to not be repetitive. But a few things I want to highlight. As you all know, this is budget season, and so we are in the thick of budget oversight hearings. Today, there was a pretty important hearing with DHCD. And one of the things that I stressed with Acting Director Green, and I just want to make clear to those that may be here tonight, is that there is a impending rent increase for rent control properties in the district at the tune of an increase of 8.9%, or as I like to say, close to 10%. And as a time when wages are not increasing or people are still struggling as we emerge from the pandemic, it is unconscionable that we would be raising the rent that high, especially considering the millions of dollars that went into subsidizing many companies and landlords and other lifelines that even the district provided, like Stay DC. There is proposed emergency legislation before the council. I authored one of the pieces of legislation that would still allow landlords to increase the rent, but up to 5%. There is another proposal that would allow rent to increase to 6.9%. But because it's emergency legislation, it cannot have a fiscal impact. And that is a procedural matter that all legislation goes through. And you all, I'm sure, are very familiar with that. It has a fiscal impact because DHCD, the agency whose hearing was today, is saying they would incur a cost. What was clear in today's hearing is that there is uncertainty what that cost is. The director was not able to give any financial amount that cost or the cost that would be incurred by the agency. And why am I sharing that? It's not to shame and blame, but what it is to say and make clear to residents is what stands in the way from thousands of residents seeing their rent increase up to 10% is DHCD saying that they would incur a fiscal impact. And so I am calling on the mayor, I'm calling on DHCD to act and work with the council to ensure that residents do not see such a drastic increase so that more of our neighbors can stay and thrive in the city. That is one. Other things that I want to highlight in the budget are wins. I think there are many wins, some that don't get often talked about enough as a program within DHS and I'm seeing the timer. I don't know if I need to live by this timer, but
no, this is your first visit. Just go, take your time.
I was gonna give you all the abbreviated version, but there's a program that essentially allows residents who might receive financial assistance to get back on their feet. There sometimes can be a perverse incentive with some of those programs that if they earn more because they get a job, they lose certain benefits. And this program through DHS stands in the gaps and allows people to earn a living, seek better for themselves and their families, which is what we all want. And I think that is a win. We saw investments in recreational centers and parks across the city. And another thing I'm really excited about are investments in childcare. Earlier this year, I introduced a child tax credit proposal, and I'm hopeful that we will fund that through this year's budget. Essentially, any resident making under $120,000, including those that are in between jobs, would be eligible for up to $500 for each child, up to 3 children. And that would go a long way to helping parents afford the high cost of childcare in the district, putting food on the table and keeping a roof over their heads. Research tells us that the more money in people's pockets, the better we see in academic outcomes, health outcomes, and the like. And so there are many things to celebrate in the budget. There are also some concerns and things that were cut. ERAP, or emergency rental assistance, went from $40+ million to only $8. And so there are concerns that we are going to see many neighbors that are in need be displaced and or become homeless. There are cuts to city services. So if I'm thinking in DPW, Department of Public Works, where at a time we should be seeing more booting and towing, there was a reduction in 30 FTEs, or about, within the parking enforcement team at DPW. Why does that matter? Because we are seeing an increase in illegal tags on our streets. Cars are cutting through our neighborhoods. We know Virginia and Maryland drivers are held harmless because we don't have reciprocity. The one leverage that we do have is that we can boot and tow vehicles. And I'm concerned that we saw such a drastic cut there. And then lastly, I would just say in DHS, we are seeing drastic cuts across that agency. And as you know, they are providing life-saving work and programs. And so our my council colleagues, we have our work cut out as we are trying to find funding and extend lifelines to residents, but also making sure that everybody throughout the city can thrive. A few things I would also highlight is our public safety plan. I believe Carlos went through this, but it is a plan that my team is implementing as of last week. And so there was unfortunately a homicide in Brooklyn last week, and my team was on the ground. And we are continuing to work through a number of agencies and teams to ensure that there's streamlined communication and coordination, that we can work with district agencies to target hotspots, that we can expand safety tools. For instance, MPD's camera rebate program, we are advocating that includes motion detectors. And so that should accompany a camera, because we know that has been proven successful, that we are working to connect our communities. Actually, before coming here, I was on with the Stronghold Civic Association, and they have block captains. And so we are piloting a block captain type model across the ward to see if that can allow our communities to stay connected, to pass information, to share resources, and to coordinate with district agencies like DBH, MPD, and others. And then lastly, through strong oversight and legislation, I am hoping to improve the district's public safety apparatus. I am not doing this alone. All of my council colleagues, I can tell you, are focused on this, as I am concerned. I can't speak for everybody, but I am concerned with the violence that we are seeing in the city. And with us approaching the spring and the summer, I'm concerned that it's only going to get worse. That said, we are seeing promising signs in some respects. And so that public safety plan, I'll make sure Carlo drops a link, or that we follow up, but you will be hearing more about that. Last thing I would just say, and then I'll open it up for questions. We also introduced the School Safety Enhancement Act. One of the harsh reality, I think we should just be straightforward with people. MPD is shrinking. And that is a problem that we're seeing with police institutions across the country, that there is an attrition crisis. In last week's MPD hearing, Chief Conti said on average, 30 to 35 officers are leaving the force. That is balanced with the most optimistic view that they will hire 20 officers. So if you're doing the math, we're losing 30 and 35 a month, and ideally hiring 20, that we're losing more than we're gaining. And so that means we need to be innovative. We need to be thoughtful around how we are thinking more expansively than MPD, and putting forth a public safety plan. I put forth my plan. I call on the mayor. I call on my colleagues to put forth a plan for us to continue to work together. Why am I saying that? Because part of the discussion now is around school safety. Last year and currently we have 40 SROs, school resource officers. Those are MPD officers that are dedicated to schools, district and charters. Next year in the mayor's proposed budget, she has allotted funding for 40 SROs. And so that keeps it flat. At a time when school leaders and many others are saying we are really concerned with the rising violence in our schools, as well as the violence that our young people are encountering as they travel to and from school. So I introduced the School Safety Enhancement Act, which does several things. One, it calls on OSSI to convene district agencies to come up with updated guidelines for school safety plans, not just around how we're going to punish students, but how are we going to reward them? How are we also going to think about behavioral health, mental health, and the like? Secondly, it dedicates and expands capacity at our schools so that every school would have at least one full-time employee dedicated to school safety. And at our high schools, there would be at least 2 full-time employees. It is worth noting, SROs do not spend full time at any school. They are split between schools, and school leaders call the SRO if there is a need for them. What we are proposing is that there would be at least 1 full-time employee, and perhaps 2 if you're at a high school, to deal with safety matters by a non-police personnel or person. And then lastly, it establishes guidelines and gives clarity around how schools should be engaging external agencies, including MPD, but also DBH, the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, and the like. What I've heard from Ward 5 school leaders is there is uncertainty, there is ambiguity. They are not clear, should they call 911 in the case of an emergency? Should they call the SRO? Sometimes they're saying they are calling for help. They're not always getting it. And so our hope is that this legislation meets a need, it provides greater clarity, and it expands capacity. And so more to come on that, but I wanted to let you know those are some of the pieces of legislation and the steps that we're taking to address public safety, which I know is top of mind for residents. I will stop there. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Thank you so much again for joining us. Do we have any questions for the council member?
Star 9 to raise your hand if you're on the phone. All others can press the button to raise your hand and we will call upon you.
While we wait for hands, I just want to reference Robert Oliver's comment around Riggs Road in South Dakota. For years, for more than a decade, as I understand, the neighbors have been campaigning for a park at the corner of Riggs Road in South Dakota. Two things I'm really proud of. For the first time, we actually got DGS to commit to writing the memo to transfer the grounds there to DPR. That is a simple step, but it's the first time it's happening. And then on top of that, the mayor in her budget allotted $800,000 for a park at both Riggs Road in South Dakota, as well as a park in Carver-Langston. Both of those things were things we lobbied for in our budget letter to the mayor. So all that to say, we are hopeful. We expect that there will be a park very soon at that corner. And I'm gonna fight to make sure that funding stays in the budget. So I just wanted to speak to that. Thank you for the neighbors who are, and this civic association that has been campaigning for this for many years.
Okay, any other questions for council member?
We appear to have one from the floor from Ms. Lisa Ray. One moment.
Hi, Councilmember Parker, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can.
Hi. I don't know if you know, but Riggs Park is a walkable neighborhood, and I have a concern about the traffic that goes down South Dakota and Kennedy Street, that whole area down there. We used to have a resident who was blind, and I can't remember whether it was Galloway or Hamilton, one of those streets. They had put like some blinking light down there that it blinks. And the cars are not supposed to, and the cars are supposed to stop at a certain, I guess when it's flashing, they can go. When it's hard red, they're supposed to stop. But the traffic, there's now a school back up there, Rocket Ship Public Charter School. So, I mean, our neighborhood is very walkable and it's growing. And I'm concerned, I mean, these cars are running the light. And that was the purpose that we had gotten the light, because someone got killed at Riggs and at Kennedy in South Dakota.
Yes.
Years prior to me moving over in this neighborhood. And I'm just concerned that traffic, and they don't give you much time to cross the street, but the traffic is awful over there. And I know the mayor's supposed to be deploying cameras.
Yes.
Into different areas, and there are some along South Dakota, but there's not one right there near South Dakota and Kennedy and down by the modern apartments where, I mean, these cars are speeding. And not only that, I had one more question for you. Fort Totten Station. We have a rodent problem in this neighborhood, and it doesn't help that this trash needs to be pulled regularly up in this, up at Fort Totten Station, because Fort Totten Station is like a hub. And so, I mean, it needs to be kept a lot cleaner. I go up there, and I know this is a metro part, and I need to find out who's on this metro board. But they don't keep it clean up there. I come up there early in the morning and it's dirty. I mean, there's trash. They need to pull that continuously pull that trash up there to keep down this rodent population?
Yeah, a few things I would say. Traffic is a top concern, and especially along South Dakota, which is one of the most dangerous corridors in the city and in Ward 5. Few things. One, there is a group, Friends of South Dakota. I'm not sure if you're familiar. I will make sure Carlos passes along the information, but it's a group of neighbors that live on or around South Dakota that are working to improve traffic safety. Two, just today, I followed up with Director Lod at DDOT because I'm organizing a traffic safety walk on South Dakota. Because again, this is a strip of Ward 5 in the city that has been dangerous for a very long time. And I agree that we need to do more to think about how we're going to slow cars down. As you mentioned, there is going to be an increase in cameras. There is no guarantee as of yet that those cameras will be placed on South Dakota, but that is something that we're advocating for. And then third, I would say we are also advocating aggressively to expand bus access in and around Ward 5, because we believe that if you have quality, reliable bus service through corridors along South Dakota and Bladensburg and New York and North Capitol and many other places, fewer people might find it to drive, but also with protected bus lanes, it forces cars to slow down. On the enforcement side, I believe we need to do more to hold reckless drivers accountable. As you mentioned, there are more cameras coming. I am a bit concerned at what we see in the mayor's proposed budget with cuts to DPW. DPW, as you know, boots and tows cars. I have advocated for increasing booting and towing, especially of Maryland, Virginia cars, because we do not have reciprocity. Reciprocity essentially means that they are required to pay a ticket if they get it here in the district. In a way that outside of reciprocity that we can still hold those drivers accountable is through booting and towing. Unfortunately, in the budget that we received, there's something like 30 FTEs that are being proposed cut in DPW's traffic enforcement. And so that is something that we are looking on the Transportation and Environment Committee of turning around and seeing what we can do there. And then the last thing I would just say about cleanliness, that too touches DPW. There were 54 cuts to waste management within DPW in the proposed budget. And so what I'm sharing are concerns around quality of life factors as well as district services. And that is top of mind for me as we are looking for the Fort Totten station to come back online. I will take your feedback and am just really focused on how we can improve services. Last thing I would just say in terms of transportation, we also have a ongoing working group that we are dedicated to advancing, as well as with our senior advisory committee. And yes, seniors care about traffic too. And so I would just welcome you to share feedback with you. I'll drop our contact in the chat, as well as you can reach out to Carlos, who regularly joins these meetings.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have a couple of questions, but we need to definitely move the agenda.
Okay.
Angie, can you or Tish read what's in the chat?
I'll read it. Okay, so let's see. We got quite a few questions. We'll start with Sean Robinson. As a principal in the neighboring district, does the school safety plan for DCPS include restorative justice training for staff and students? How are students being engaged in the school safety process? And there's a second question. Additionally, if there's a plan for more after-school programming for students as a safety measure.
I'll take that. Yes, it does include restorative practice principles. Part of the legislation that I put forth requires OSSI to work with different stakeholders to come up with guidelines. And the point there is to make sure that we're being very inclusive. Second, I'm missing the second piece. Can you, let me just find it. I'm sorry.
Sure. Is there a plan for more after-school programming for students as a safety measure?
Yes, and fortunately in the mayor's proposed budget, there were increased investments in out of school time programming and after school programs. I think some about $5 million additional dollars are being proposed for after school programs across the district, which would provide access to students.
Okay, thank you for that. Danielle, I think your question was answered by Kinsey in the chat. And I'll just say it anyway in case it's incorrect. What about changing the halt light to a regular traffic light? And Kinsey answered with, there might be permanent light there as part of the Art Place 2, Part 2 development.
Got you. And yeah, that is something I'm sure DDOT with their researchers would look into. I don't want to make any commitments there, but we can certainly flag that as feedback for Director Lott. Yes.
Okay. Gail, I believe your question is for Ward 4. So I'm going to move to Yushina Evans, who is a Ward 5 resident. Hello, council member. To which committee should we direct testimony regarding the green space for the budget hearing?
Green space would fall under the Transportation and Environment Committee, which I am a member. Charles Allen is the chair. So you can reach out. You can send that feedback to me, all of the members of the committee, or you can send it to Chair Allen.
Okay, thank you. And Gail, for Barbara, she's asking, is there, she's been asking for a stop sign and camera on 3rd and Nicholson Street Northeast for a year.
Okay, she can give me a call. It's on the Ward 4 side. So I will respond to that in the chat. Yeah, that's on the Ward 4 side. Anything else for Councilmember Parker?
Those were all the questions.
I do just want to note a discrepancy. Thank you, Carlos, for jumping in the chat. For the question from Uchenna around green space, are we talking about parks or just advocating for more green space?
I think she's talking about the green space in front of Food and Friends, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yes, that would be for the corner. That would be DPR. That would be DPR, which would fall under the Committee of Recreation, Libraries, and Youth Affairs. Yes. So sorry for not being clear about that. And the holdup in part was that the parcel was DGS. As noted, they committed and did a internal transfer memo so that the land would be given to DPR to develop, and with the mayor's investment, they can then move forward. And Trayon White is the chair of that committee.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Councilmember Parker. It has been a joy to have you here. I didn't press you to come to LRCA. I said because he's new, he's busy. And but I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. And it's an open invitation. You can come back anytime.
Well, thank you for having me. I just dropped our newsletter in the chat, and I'm going to put my email as well. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, so we need to really move this agenda. Do we have any ANC commissioners that if they have something new to report, would like to report? Let's see, do we have, Allison is not here. Audrey had to actually hop off, but she did ask me to mention that she would like to let the 4B09 constituents know that she has currently compiled a list of emails and she'll have an online meeting on April 27th from 7 to 8 p.m. She's also going to pass out flyers in the next few weeks with her contact information and information about the Zoom meeting. So there will be an upcoming 4B09 meeting coming soon. So do we have Commissioner Malone on? Angie or Tish?
It doesn't appear so.
No.
Do we have Commissioner Cohen on?
It does not appear. No.
No. Okay. What about Commissioner Cozart?
No.
and Commissioner Amerman.
No.
None of them showed up today. But anyway, you all can always reach out to your commissioners. We have included their phone numbers on the newsletter. So definitely reach out to your commissioner with any community issues. All right. So as I said at the top of the meeting, this is an election year. And so we will open the floor tonight for nominations for positions. But at this time, I am going to turn it over to Heather Rogers, who is our nominating committee chair. Heather.
Yes, hey, thank you, President Rogers. I have a slideshow. I'm going to try to pop that up into the screen real quick. If it doesn't work, I can just talk through what's on the slides. Let me see here. Yeah. Yay. Okay, does everybody see the slideshow? It just says Lamond-Riggs Civic Association. Barbara,
I don't see
I
anything.
don't, Heather, I don't see it. It just says your
All right.
name.
I'm not going to mess with that then. I'll just talk through everything. I don't want to spend, 10 minutes trying to get this to work for me. I can talk through the slides. So May 2023 election. Serving on the LRCA board is a great way to give back to your community, get a chance to work with our wonderful neighbors, with our elected officials, and kind of shape how things are going based on the needs of the community. It's also a great way to meet other neighbors. So I'm our nominating committee chair. I want to thank Ms. Tanya Slade, Ms. Elaine Gunter, and Ms. Pat McCollin for helping out and being the nominating committee. I'm going to run through a couple of things today and then open up the floor for nominations. First, requirements to vote. You need to have paid your dues by April 3rd. So if you pay online, it's going to be midnight tonight. If you pay by check, just as it's always been, it needs to be postmarked by the 3rd. You also have to currently live within LRCA boundaries. So I'm going to put the link up here in the side, which is how you join, and a link to the map. And I think in the past, folks are always excited to be involved, and we have a lot of members who used to live in the neighborhood and still want to stay engaged. Voting for officers can only be done by people who currently live within LRCA. So before you vote, just take a look and make sure that you're still within the LRCA boundaries. So I also popped up the link to go ahead and pay if you haven't paid to check that out. So our election process this year is going to be very similar to what we did during the last election cycle during COVID, with something that we think is going to be very beneficial. So this year we're going to do what we've always done. Nominations are going to conclude at the end of the May 1st meeting. So tonight is nominating, and then next meeting is nominating as well. Then electronic voting is going to be the next day, May 2nd, and this will be, we'll send this out from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. After that has concluded, we have an opportunity for anyone who wants to vote in person, either because they prefer to do so or because they don't want to vote online, to come by and vote in person from 6:30 to 8. That's probably going to be at the library. It may be at the rec center. We're still pinning that down. Should have that shortly. And then ballots are going to be counted on May 3rd, like it was last time. And then the results will be announced May 3rd at a Zoom call that'll be scheduled in advance. We think that doing it this way is going to prevent the need for anyone to request a paper ballot in advance. So whoever wants to vote in person can just drop by and vote in person that night.
I have a question.
Yes.
It's Lavoria Huff. So, do you do Cash App? Do you accept Cash App?
No.
So
Or
no, it's
membership?
PayPal.
Nope.
Everything,
have PayPal.
yeah, everything is credit card or PayPal.
Okay, and that's online,
Yes.
the credit card?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which does bring us to the one that I wanted to flag. Thank you for asking that question, Gloria. Worked right into this. Please, if you're planning on voting online, try to log in well before the 2nd. People will attempt to troubleshoot, but as we're all volunteers and we have jobs, it's going to be hard to get back to everybody to guarantee we'll get back to you. So please try to log in advance. Don't wait until you're ready to vote at 4:30 on the 2nd to try to log in.
And
Angie is going to talk a little bit about the login as well.
Yeah. Angie, was that what you were going to say, or did I cut you off?
I was just going to step in and just say, we'll alert you when the registration system is available. And then we'll probably have something just prior so you could just test your login to the system before we actually release the electronic voting system to you. Additionally, I just wanted to make one slight little correction about the voting period. The electronic voting will start at 8 a.m. And go until 8 p.m. So it will run concurrently with the in-person being from 6:30 until 8.
I think let's offline about that and then circle back.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. So I think the part that folks are excited about is the nominating procedures. Like I said, as we have done in the past, and as a stated in the bylaws, we're going to be opening up the floor for nominations shortly tonight, and then during the May meeting. So nominees must be present to accept the nomination, because you do have to accept it. After you have been nominated, if you're in the Zoom meeting and you accepted it, please type your first and last name, phone number, and the position in the chat box, because the nominating committee is going to be following up with you in the next coming days. And if you're on the phone, if you could just, when you verbally confirm, if you could just provide that information. There's that. So position.
And for, I'm sorry, can I ask, for people who can't put their information in the chat, you will be, or the nominating committee will be writing down everybody that will be nominated tonight, correct?
Yes, yes. And if that doesn't work, let me put up my email too, if anything comes up. And we will be writing that down and following up with people. But just here's my email in case anything happens or we don't follow up with you soon. So do we want to talk about at this point, I can go into the positions. Is that good, Barbara?
Sure.
All right, great. So the terms run for 2 years, fall 2023. Well, Charity, I see your chat. We will follow up. Okay. So the positions run for 2 years, fall of 2023 through summer of 2025, 2-year period. The positions that are up for election, new slate every term. president, first vice president, second vice president, treasurer, recording secretary, parliamentarian, and 10 trustees. So the description of all of these is available on our website as well. So you can go to the website and then look at bylaws. I know it's there.
Heather, we see your desktop.
No, not my desktop. I think that's Angie's.
Oh, Angie's desktop. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. It did look like my screen. That was confusing. Yeah, so these are the positions that people can nominate for. Currently, the nominating committee wanted to bring you the list of people who have already stated that they want to run. Folks that are currently on our exec board are the only people that have reached out as of now. So we've got Danielle Lewis-Wright, Reverend Johnny Mays, Mr. Edgar Shepherd, and David Tribeau. And all of those members are going to run for trustees. So at this point, Barbara, I don't know if you have anything else to say, but we can open up for questions about this and then open up for nominations.
Yes, so let's do that. Does anyone have any questions for Heather with how the process will run for elections this year? Do we have any questions?
We do have a question from you, Shanna. One moment.
Hi, Heather. I was just wondering if you had put, oh, sorry. I was going to ask if you had put your information in the chat to everyone because I hadn't seen it yet.
Oh, you know what? Thank you, Sheena. I really appreciate that. I went to the host and the panelist. Let me.
And I think you said you were putting something else in the chat that didn't show up. I think it was the link.
Okay. And the link, you are so right. Let me. I got my email, I got my phone number in there, and then the link. Were you able to, did everyone see that this time? I think
Yeah,
so.
it looks like it went to everyone now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Sheena.
And I guess, any other questions for Heather?
I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, I see 5 questions in the chat though, or maybe that's just people talking. But if I know that per the bylaws, people have to be present. If there's a special case, I know someone's sick and someone else is actually on a flight traveling. Do they wait until the May meeting? I'm pretty sure it's correct that they wouldn't wait until the May, but I just want to be sure if there are any circumstances, special circumstances.
Yeah, that's my understanding from the bylaws is you have to be present because you have to affirmatively accept the nomination.
Right.
So people have until the May meeting. So that it would be what they should do in that case is make sure that they are nominated in May and that they accept the nomination then.
Okay, I just wanted it said aloud because I'm being asked the question. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Angie or Tish in the chat?
I do not see any. Again, if you are on the phone, *9 to raise your hand and we can entertain your question from there.
And I did answer Mr. Charity's question. So we're gonna move on with, if there are no more questions for Heather, we'll move to the nominations. We'll close the nominations and then We're going to have an update from Miss Barbara Carter about the 75th. So those of you all who want to hear more about the 75th anniversary, that will be on April 22nd. I encourage you to stay on and listen for that. And then Tish is going to do an update on the about the bylaws. So is Edwin Washington on? Because I'm just realizing I didn't call on him. Is Edwin on? Do we see him on?
Yes, he's being promoted right now.
Okay, so we'll give Edwin a couple of minutes in case he has a new update. You all know Edwin is the executive director for the Parks Main Street. Hi, Edwin.
Good evening. How's everyone doing? Thank you, President. I wanted to just say a few things here. I have a few things that I have to share. Have our annual meeting. Thank you. There were over 40 people who came to our annual meeting that were in attendance at the Lamond-Riggs Living Day Hub Library. The branch manager, David Gaston, provided welcome. We did recap our 2022 accomplishments where we gave $52,000 in grants to 21 businesses. We had 53 volunteers that provided 416 hours of volunteer hours. And we did 396 hours of technical assistance to small businesses. For 2023, so far, we provided $30,000 in grants to 6 businesses, each of which received $5,000. That would be Riggs Cleaners, the VIP Room, Ramdas Pharmacy, Ross Professional Services, Peach's Kitchen and Restaurant, and Lovely Lady Boutique. Activities coming up this month in particular, the Hellbender Hill Earth Day cleanup. We're partnering with Casey Trees and Anacostia Watershed. That's April 22nd. The Riggs Park Art Crawl, which is the brainchild of Miss V, Veronica Cooper, doing that July 15th. And we've been notified that Art All Night, hosted by the Parks Main Street, will be Saturday this year, September 30th. Food and drink at our annual meeting will be provided by Peach's Kitchen and Restaurant, Sinbib Cafe, Riggs Wine and Liquor. It was just soft drinks because at the library you can't have beer or wine. Culture Coffee 2, Quintessence Health and Wellness, and Chick-fil-A. Additional businesses that were at the meeting were Riggs Cleaners and Troca Insurance and VIP Room, all of which spoke. All of the businesses had opportunity to speak. Our speakers were our board chair, Dr. Ray Crawford, Glenn Ogilvie, CEO of the Center for Nonprofit Advancement, TPMS board member and chair of our organization committee, Nick Barber, our board treasurer, Diane Ross, who's also owner of Ross Professional Services, Ward 4 Council member Denise Lewis George, who had originally indicated that she would not be able to come, but she did come in the end and had some fabulous remarks, so we appreciate that. Ward 4 Council member Zachary Parker had sent his regrets. He had planned to come, but at the last minute he got called away. We also had a speaker, Laisa Magucha, who is the chief of staff for the Office of Shadow U.S. Representative for DC, Oya Olawale, and finally Barbara Rogers, who is the Ward 4 Director for Community Engagement and also LRC President. We did, and I'll be brief here, we did discuss board committee and event volunteer opportunities. We had 2 possible nominees for TPMS board. We had new committee volunteers for the Promotions Committee, Design Committee, and finally, currently our Ward 4 Community Works Project, we're working with the Office of Planning. We're in the final stages of selecting from responses to a request for proposals to help with to be facilitators for community meetings. I think that's it for me.
Okay, thank you so much, Edwin. Any questions for Edwin? Okay, thank you so much, Edwin.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to the nominations. Heather, you're going to do the nominations.
Yes, I can do the nominations. I think this
Okay.
one had a question first about who to contact to confirm whether we're current on our dues. And I believe that that would be our membership and communications chair, Angie. Is that right?
Angie.
You
Angie.
can email membership at lrca.dc.org, and I'll put it in the chat.
And I have another question. I believe that people can nominate themselves from the previous elections, but I do not recall what the bylaws speak to in that regard. So President Rogers, if you know about that, please let me know. Or
Yes,
maybe,
you can nominate yourself.
oh, perfect. Okay, well, I think if anyone would like to nominate someone or nominate themselves, please raise your hand and then you can do so. I want to make sure everyone on the phone has a chance to hear it also.
Can we do it by position? Like take nominations for president and go down the line?
That's a great idea. Who would like to nominate somebody for president?
And again, we want to encourage, especially if you have not been involved with LRCA, this is your opportunity to get involved. So I am encouraging people who, if you haven't been involved, this is your chance to get involved.
If you're on the phone, like to nominate yourself or nominate someone else, hit *9.
Well, we can come back to president. Let's do first vice president.
Well, I think when you open it for that, then I think, well, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna, I mean, if we're gonna run through one at a time, I'd happy
Yeah,
to.
so I think we go to president. If nobody's, then we close it and move on to first vice president.
Okay. Definitely, thank you. So we're gonna open up the floor to nominations for president. Thank you, Angie, since I can't screen share. So I'll open up the floor. We just open it up for nominations for president. Hearing none, I will close the floor for nominations for president and open up for nominations for first vice president.
Oh.
As Barbara said, this is a great opportunity to get involved. And I would encourage folks, not just running for trustee is great, but if you have a passion for getting more involved, please go ahead and jump in earlier too. So I have a feeling we'll probably get a lot of trustees. I'm hearing nothing. I'll close the floor for first vice president and second vice president. Okay, closing that. Treasurer. And just to note, you definitely, people can run from the floor on May, but this gives you an opportunity to be in the newsletter, to make sure that you're going to have an opportunity to speak, and have a little bit longer to let people know that you're running. Okay, we'll close that. Recording secretary. Right. Parliamentarian. Yes. I don't want to mispronounce your name. Shawan, let's make sure that they are unmuted, or that they're unmuted, please.
He is unmuted.
So we had talked about for people, if he wants to turn on his camera and to just say why he might want to run for this position and tell us a little bit more about himself. Could do that, or he can do it next month, whatever he prefers.
He's been promoted to panelist if he cares to speak today.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Hi. Yes. Hi. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes.
I'll be very brief. My name is Shawan Robinson. I'm a longtime resident of Lamond-Riggs. I live at the 5500 block of 4th Street, 4th and Chillum. I live here, with my mom, my 2 sons, and, my 2-year-old dog. I currently serve as a school principal in Montgomery County for the Montgomery County Public School System. A great deal of what I do, for a living is, certainly, ensuring that, processes, structures, move on, so that we can be productive in terms of, our initiatives, our agenda and things of that sort. For many years, I formerly served as the president of the Montgomery County Alliance of Black School Educators. And so, I do know, what a tremendous responsibility is, to volunteer for this type of work. I'm coming up on my 30th year in education, so I'm close to retirement, and I definitely want to lend my my time, to serve in my community, and so which is why I put myself out, sort of as a parliamentarian. I've attended several of the meetings, and just kind of getting my footing there, but I've connected with Angeline, around being a part of the membership committee as well, and so I'm just here to lend my support.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Yay.
you. No problem at all.
Okay, Heather.
All right. This is great. Let's go on. And as a reminder, that you can also nominate yourself. So let's move to trustees.
Star 9 if you'd like to raise your hand to speak if you're calling in from a phone.
And I will say that trustee is a great position to be a part of LRCA and learn a lot more about what you do here. Even if you're not interested right now in running for president or second vice president, trustees are still very involved in the process, and it's a great position to be part of the team. Oh, that's a
And
great
as Heather
point. The
mentioned,
people on the list who have nominated, they need to verbally nominate themselves.
oh yes, or someone else can nominate them.
Okay, great.
So for the returning, the current board members that agreed to run for the next term, if you want to nominate yourself, you can, or I'd be more than happy to nominate you.
Just
Let's
FYI,
see.
Just FYI, David will probably have to wait until May. He's in air.
Okay. Reverend Mays, you want to nominate yourself for trustee?
You can do it.
Okay, I nominate Reverend Dr. Johnny M. Mays for trustee. Okay. Who's next? Mr. Edgar?
I'll nominate.
Doesn't she have to accept it?
The emotional distress.
LaRoya, can you mute yourself?
And Heather, you're muted.
Thank you. Reverend Mays, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. We have a couple more people. Mr. Edgar Shepherd, are you on the line?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now, yes.
Yes, I
Mr. Edgar, do
nominate.
you want to nominate yourself for?
You go ahead, President.
Okay, I nominate Mr. Edgar Shepherd for trustee.
I accept.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
And Danielle. Danielle, I nominate Danielle for second vice president. No, for
That's
trustee.
fine. I accept that position. If we can reopen it, I'll accept this second vice president position.
Yeah, we can reopen it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, would anybody else like to nominate somebody, a member of LRCA, or nominate themselves for trustee? Okay, let's open it back up in the same vein of Danielle. Let's open it back up to nominations for any of the positions.
And we have to do the youth delegate.
Oh, the youth delegate. Is that a
There's a hand up.
Great. It looks like Kinsey. Is that right? Let me there we go.
Yeah, I just have a question. It might be helpful, maybe. I mean, I think like president and vice presidents may be obvious, but like, what does like the being the treasurer or the recording secretary involve? That might help some people decide whether or not they'd want to do it.
Well, we put those positions actually in the newsletter last month. And so people can always go, because it's a long list and I don't think we have time to go through all of those, but you can also go to the website and look at the positions, what the duties are. But people will have an opportunity again at the May meeting to do floor nominations. But thank you so much for that, Kinsey. Would you like to be nominated, Kinsey?
Not particularly, but I also want to see LRCA have a full board. So maybe I'll think about it for May.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I would like to nominate Barbara Carter. So I just want to acknowledge how hard she's worked for our community with the 75th LRCA anniversary. And she's been just a model trustee and colleague, and has really done an outstanding job with the planning effort, and would definitely love to see her remain on the board in some capacity.
Thank you, but I do decline. Thank you. I appreciate that.
We're gonna work on her, but anyway, no, I'm just joking. All right. Did we do the youth delegate?
We did not. So the last position is a youth delegate position. And that is a newer position. And actually I'll let Barbara talk a little bit about that, Barbara.
Well, Tish can speak to the youth delegate. Tish.
Okay, hello everyone. Let me put my camera on. So during the bylaws committee discussions and upon the vote, people thought that in order to move the legacy of LRCA along, we needed to start including younger people from the community so they could get a feel of what the community association is and start moving along to the future. So therefore, there's been a youth delegate added to the number of trustees. Thank you.
And what's the age, Tish?
Yeah.
Up to 25, I think 16 to 25.
Awesome.
Somebody needs to mute themselves. So if there's nobody on this call, if you know a young person that you want or think they should get involved in LRCA, please have them to reach out to Heather. Okay, we are so behind. Anything else, Heather?
No, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I look forward to talking with more of you soon about the different positions and then opening the nominating back up in the May meeting.
Yeah. So again, spread the word to your neighbors that we will have floor nominations again in May. Thank you all so much. So we're gonna end fairly soon here. Let Miss Barbara Carter give us an update on the 75th anniversary, which will be April 22nd from noon to 2 at the Riggs LaSalle Recreation Center. Miss Barbara.
And Barbara has just said it all. We're planning a we're planning a fun afternoon for everybody. We certainly hope that you can come. Check your email. You should have received something today, and we need for you to respond to it. We need for you to respond to it. I'm gonna say it for the third time. Check your email. We need for you to respond to the email. And we hopefully will see you on April 22nd at noon at the Riggs LaSalle Recreation Center. Thank you.
And again, I second what Danielle said about Miss Barbara Carter. She has just been amazing with the 75th, and she always has. Miss Barbara was here when I joined LRCA many, many years ago. And she has just always been a leader and has always been just so helpful to LRCA and just the community at large. So thank you, Miss Barbara. All right, any questions about the 75th? If not, we're gonna move.
The attire.
Say it again.
The attire.
What is the
Afternoon luncheon.
attire? Is
this afternoon luncheon?
So is it just people can come? Is it casual? Business casual or what?
Business casual, business. This afternoon luncheon. We just want to see you in the place.
Well, since it's the 75th, why would you say just casual? You know, when you say casual, you know what casual means to a lot of people.
Well, we don't want to discourage anybody from coming. So we want you to be dressed appropriately, but we do not want to discourage anyone from coming, thinking that they don't have the appropriate dress. It's a luncheon, so wear your luncheon attire.
Okay, all right. Anything else for Miss Barbara Carter for the 75th? And we do have information on the website about the 75th as well, if you have any questions. And then lastly, we are going to go to Tisha Cockrell with the bylaws update.
Okay, hello again, LRCA members or folks joining us today. So we had our last special LRCA meeting on March 20th. We had a previous special meeting for our exec board on February 16th. And with that, we sent out about 80 some odd emails to paid members because members had to be in good standing in order to vote. And we had members show up, and so we voted on the bylaws, and so therefore you see the new positions that we scheduled here today for nominating, and that's pretty much it. Am I missing anything? I see a hand, Reverend Mays. Do you have a question, Reverend Mays? Okay, well, seeing no
I'm
question.
sorry, it wasn't for that. My hand was raised to ask the president another question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Well, seeing no questions,
go ahead, Tish, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying, seeing no questions, that is the end of my update for the bylaws. Thanks, everyone. Oh, I will say this. Thanks, everyone that participated in the committee. Thanks, everyone that participated from the exec board. And thanks, everyone that participated on the special meeting on the 20th. Turning it back over to you, President Rogers.
Okay, thank you. Reverend Mays, you got a question?
Yeah, I texted you earlier today in reference to a situation that's happening up there at the credit union. Water is spilling. Did you got my text?
I got
Okay,
your text. I've already talked to Carmen Williams there. She sent me the 311 request, so we're working on it.
Yeah, because they told me they had been trying and nothing happened.
Yep, I'm on top of it. Thank you so
Okay.
much. I saw your, I was gonna give you a call, but then I got ready for this meeting, but thank you so much for sending me the text. All righty. So I don't see that we have anything. It is now 8:58. I thank you all for staying on the meeting. Come back for May, nominations for the floor. Check with your neighbors, encourage your neighbors to get involved. We just need people to get involved. This organization is 75 years old. We want it to go 75 more years. So thank you all so much for staying on with us. Again, it's 8:59 and we will adjourn the meeting. We'll see you on May 1st. May 1st. Thank you.
Thank you.